Hello, this question is to John Lennox. Now, as long as I've known you, I've started to prefer you over the John Lennon guy. So, that's fine.
That's very kind of you. It shows you are gifted with a certain level of perception.
Thank God for that. Now, my question is, what's your take on the Bible? Do you take the same scientific approach as you take, when you do science, when you do mathematics, or do you just say, well, that's inspired text and that's all there is to it? Do you find, what's your take on it?
Both. Short answer to that is this. I wouldn't use the word scientific unless you translated it into German and use the word Wissenschaft, because history and archaeology are sciences in that more general sense. But I take it in exactly the same way as I do my science, in the sense that I ask the question, what is the evidence? And for me, the question of the reliability and the authenticity of the biblical text is very important. In fact, so important, and here's a shameless bit of advertising. I've just written 2 major chapters of a book on that very thing, because they're part of the evidence. And a very short answer to your question, it's not really an answer, but it's the fact that people are often not aware just how substantial the evidence for the authenticity of the text of the New Testament is. We've got if you compare it with contemporary classical documents, which we wouldn't question, Thucydides' works or Caesar's Gallic War or things like that, we find that the extant evidence is very, very small, and yet scholars don't dispute it. The evidence for the authenticity of the New Testament text is absolutely immense. I don't carry the figures in my head, but if you're interested in it, you look it up and discover that. So it's not an a priori assumption, close your mind, this is an inspired text, therefore you must accept it just like that. No, it's the other way around. Not everybody who approaches the Bible at the beginning accepts it as an inspired text. In fact, most people don't. And many of my friends have started and they don't, but they read it to see if it makes sense. That's the first step. If it doesn't make sense, we can forget it. And so the evidence is cumulative. And you can test it, of course, in the way in which I just explained. But it's a very important question. And we rely on historians, we rely on archaeologists, and we rely on people who investigate this kind of thing. Just one further comment here. The thing that troubles me, and I'm glad that many of my colleagues are not too sympathetic to Richard Dawkins, is that he will make a statement like, well, the evidence that Jesus Christ exists is very small. Now, he's not an ancient historian, nor am I. And I think my colleagues and I will all agree on this, that when we go outside our own subjects, as we've done some of us this afternoon, you check with the best of the scholarship in a field outside your own. Now, I'm not an ancient historian, but I have asked the ancient historians. I haven't found one leading ancient historian who would begin to question the existence of Jesus. In fact, some of them, and they're atheists, some of them, would have no question about it. And it's that, actually going and looking at the evidence. And Noam Chomsky, of whom you may have heard, made a very interesting remark recently. He said he's most worried about people who shout the loudest asking for evidence, but aren't prepared to consider it when they're offered it. And my experience of the new atheists, not all atheists, and we mustn't confuse, most of my atheist friends are not sympathetic with Dawkins. The new atheists will claim loudly that there's no evidence, but they won't investigate it in my experience. But that's a topic for a lecture, it's not a topic for a quick answer.
Someone else?
Thank you. The question is not addressed to a particular person, but to the table as such. I'd be curious to learn about your opinion on the issue that you have opened up, and that was the question of humility in science. And my thought goes a bit like this. In terms of when we speak about religion and science, at least when it comes to religion, we speak about religions. When we speak about science, we usually speak about one science, the one that has the origin of the Western world. And what seems to me the issue that wasn't discussed was that is there a lesson that can be learned from religions that have, at least some of them, began to form dialogue across the world, saying that, well, at least we all speak about God or spirit in some way, but then you have also knowledge systems that come from different cultural backgrounds, as religions do, but are not considered valid as science is considered valid. So I was wondering if maybe one of you would be care to take this issue on and discuss a little bit.
I can try to answer. First, I think similarly as we have different religions, we have different sciences. Newton's law and Maxwell's law doesn't have any third law that combines the two, so we have two different interpretations. Different religions are different interpretation of same thing. We are talking about monotheistic religions, and then we have other religions, Buddhism and so forth, that are maybe not directly related to this monotheistic thing, but they are still trying to interpret questions to humans. So in that sense, they play a similar role. But this relation, I think, between science and religion, if I understood your question correctly, I don't see the problem. So it's this, either you take as you have different sciences, or it's just one, or you are considering religious that you have different religions, or you just say that that's all one thing that tries to explain to ourselves certain things that we don't have really capability of comprehension. So there are certain things that we just don't understand, cannot explain. We demand the answer when we have it. It's a religious answer. It's, I don't know if I answered the question. Maybe somebody else will conclude that.
Thank you. We shall finish. So if there will be some more questions or reading, you have opportunity in San Perignon. And thank you for coming. And here are your books.